Welcome to the show, everybody. It's the Crypto Lark. Today we're going to be doing our Bitcoin news roundup, covering all of the latest happening in Bitcoinland. Before we get into that, quick shout out, as always, to everyone who has been hitting that like button, and of course, everybody who has been subscribing to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you hit that button down below to stay up to date with all of the latest in the crypto space. Furthermore, this is of course not professional financial advice. This is just a dude talking about cryptocurrencies on the internet. Let's get into it, guys. Bitcoin today, $11,351.50. Down a little bit, but nothing to worry about. Of course, we are still well down, though, on our all-time high that we had a few weeks ago. Recovery has been a bit slow, but I feel pretty positive about the price overall for the year. If you look at the Bitcoin market dominance, though, that is very interesting because Bitcoin has dropped all the way down to 33% of the total cryptocurrency market. But Ethereum's up to 20.2% of the total cryptocurrency market, which is huge. Bitcoin Cash, of course, around 5%. Ripple, 9%, which is absolutely massive as well. But the interesting thing is, once you get out of the top coins, all the other coins combined together only make 24% of the entire cryptocurrency market. That's, yeah, the other, 1,500 coins listed on CoinMarketCap. Something to keep in mind. Okay. Bitcoin difficulty for mining has, of course, jumped again. Another big jump this time, going from 2.22 trillion to 2.6 trillion. Another big jump, of course, that pushes those daily mining profits down ever so slightly, or maybe not ever so slightly in this case, each time that does happen every 2 weeks. Lightning Network is in development. In fact, the test net is running. However, this in of itself is a problem. Now look, we're all, excitedly waiting for scaling solutions to happen for Bitcoin. But the reality is that we should not be impatient for those to happen. They will happen when they happen, and yes, we are patiently waiting for them to happen. Being impatient results in mistakes, and that's what's been happening so far with the Lightning Network. People have been transacting, losing real Bitcoin, and this is the exact thing you don't want happening. So hopefully the testnet can stay just the testnet, and we won't actually see people transacting using Lightning, because it's highly problematic and just gives more fuel for the fire of why this is the wrong scaling solution. Anyway, let's move on. Can Bitcoin be destroyed? 7 unlikely paths to irrelevance. Now look, this guy is not trying to find legitimate answers to a future where Bitcoin is not the #1 coin. Got to keep that fair. But he does bring up some fun ideas. The Armageddon. I've always said, if the Armageddon happens, probably one of your lesser worries is going to be Bitcoin and the price of Bitcoin. Probably more like, how not to be eaten by zombies, or, how to find food that day. Your Bitcoin will just be a memory of the past. Of course, critical bugs, forking. Now, I've seen that we might see up to 50 forks this year. That's just an estimate. That's not the planned number of forks, but I would not be surprised to see that many forks, considering just all the random forks that are happening, because people now realize, hey, we can just fork the code. Let's do it. Make some money. That's possible, but I think that every fork that happens, Bitcoin just keeps trucking on. So I don't see the forked to irrelevance as a problem. Of course, neither does this guy. Again, he's not trying to find that answer. Joint government crackdown. This is probably one of the more troubling scenarios. We do, of course, have France and Germany who are going to be presenting a cryptocurrency-related regulation bill at the G20 summit in March. So hopefully that's not a heavy-handed approach to what they're doing. If we could see some common sense legislation, that would be nice. Obviously, Japan cannot hold up the entire world market for cryptocurrencies. That being said, I would be surprised to see really heavy-handed tactics coming down. But China has had pretty heavy-handed tactics. The US, I wouldn't be surprised. They've done back and forth movements quite a few times, so hopefully we don't see that as a reality. Obviously, a major hack. This seems not to be a problem. Hacks happen. People keep moving on. A better cryptocurrency could come out. Remember, right now, Ethereum is really moving in on Bitcoin's market cap, and I think Bitcoin will take off throughout the year, but Ethereum's going to remain very strong because there are so many use cases for it. So that's a possibility moving forward, of course. Or market fatigue that just slowly dwindles into irrelevance as people stop thinking that they're going to make sick gains. Anyway, the one thing I do know, if the Armageddon does happen, you better hope this dude is your dad. Dad homeschools kids about guns and Bitcoin. That's one hardcore dad right there. That guy. Now, this is an interesting one as well. This is a comment from Davos, where the economist Joseph Stiglitz was quoted as saying that regulation in the end is highly problematic for Bitcoin, and that cracking down on the secret uses, so the buying of drugs, the funding of terrorism, the human trafficking, all these different things, tax evasion, may indeed regulate Bitcoin out of existence, which of course I imagine is what most governments want to do, to regulate Bitcoin out of existence. Of course, they don't regulate their own fiat money out of existence, which is responsible for 99.9% probably. That's just a number I made up off the top of my head, but the majority of those very things that they claim Bitcoin is so responsible for. Moving on to our next story. The Russian Orthodox Church is not crazy about Bitcoin craze. Well, imagine that. The church is not excited about Bitcoin. Why is anyone asking them? Now look, the patriarch was quoted basically as saying that all these people went out and bought the top, and then now what are they left with? Approximately half the value of what they initially invested. Now that's the mistake of buying the top at the wrong time, buying in an overheated market, but that is the craze factor. That is Bitcoin mania. And there's definitely a bit of Bitcoin mania going on. He's not wrong that people aren't doing their research before getting involved. They just go, oh my God, I'm going to make $1 million overnight. I'm going to put all my money in it right now. And then wake up the next morning and Bitcoin's crashed by 20% because they didn't realize what they got into. And then they sell everything and go, oh my gosh, now I've lost 25% of my money or something like this. How am I going to pay my bills these months? And highly problematic. Know what you're getting into, guys. Another story out of Russia. The Moscow court closes the Navalny campaign foundation over Bitcoin. Alexander Navalny, he is an opposition candidate, also running for president in Russia. There are people beyond Putin who want to take control of the country. Now, basically one of the reasons cited for shutting down the campaign foundation were that they accepted Bitcoin. Now look, is that legitimate? I mean, they've cracked down on Navalny for everything possible. You bought milk. Get him. You're not allowed to buy milk at 11:59 on a Sunday, man. Get him. Look, Russia's got a system of laws where they're so convoluted and ambiguous. There's always a way for them to catch you if they want to catch you. This is just another excuse. They had nothing to do with Bitcoin in my mind. They just want to crack down on Navalny because that's what they do. That's what they do. A more happy story, we could say. The Bank of Japan. Bitcoin is all cool. That's great. That's great. Isn't it so nice to actually see a bank, a central bank, come out and say, hey, That's all good. Bitcoin not causing any problems over here. We're having a good time. People are using Bitcoin. People are buying Bitcoin. The world has not ended. The zombie apocalypse has not happened. Drug dealers have not taken over the world with their sick Bitcoin gains. Keep it classy, Japan. I like it. The Japanese Bitcoin exchange Bitflyer has moved into Europe, which is, of course, great news to see that expansion happening. The more access to Bitcoin, the better. But this is the really big news, is that Robinhood is going to open feeless Bitcoin cryptocurrency actually trading on their app. Now that is big time news. This could be big competition for Coinbase. This is a fiat gateway for people, a way for people to get involved with cash in not just Bitcoin, but also Ethereum, Litecoin, and about 15 other different cryptocurrencies. So they've automatically made themselves into a potential big player, and they already have, of course, have a big user base. Now hopefully we can see Coinbase reform their ways a little bit and be a little more responsive to market demands. That being said, the more the merrier, so welcome to the party, Robinhood. Over in South Korea, the National Pension Fund invested $2.6 billion in top exchanges. Probably a pretty damn good move. Now, this is the third biggest pension fund in the country, but I think that's a pretty forward-looking investment to actually strategically invest in those exchanges and to get their hands on some sick cryptocurrency gains. Now, a fascinating problem for a Bitcoin broker over in Finland. They have been making so much money with their cryptocurrency brokerage. They don't know what to do with it all. What a problem to have. I made so much money I don't know what to do anymore. What are we going to do with all this money? Can you put some in the closet? Nah, the closet's full. What about the back of the car? Nah, the back of the car is full too. Start throwing it out in the street, man. We don't need it anymore. That's crazy. Okay. Over in Japan, the largest consumer electronics chain trials Bitcoin payments. That is, of course, also very exciting news. Now, there are some other big retailers in Japan already accepting cryptocurrencies. This is, of course, great to see yet another getting on board. I feel like in a few years, Japan may be a country where you can ubiquitously use cryptocurrencies to buy things, which would be absolutely fantastic. Over in Singapore, a mall is selling cryptocurrency mining hardware. I imagine if they're like all of the cryptocurrency mining hardware providers, they'll constantly be sold out. Nevertheless, coming to a store near you, if you live in Singapore, that is. The cost for mining Bitcoin is, of course, always a major factor to take into a consideration when thinking about starting your own Bitcoin mining at home. Now, for a lot of people, it will be highly variable how much you can make depending on which country you live in. If you live in Venezuela, it's the cheapest country in the world to mine a Bitcoin. It costs $531 worth of electricity to mine a Bitcoin in Venezuela, which is pretty cheap. Second cheapest country is Trinidad. Keep it classy, Trinidad. The fascinating thing is, though, that in South Korea, to mine one Bitcoin costs $26,170. This is due to the way that South Korea regulates its energy industry with a sliding scale, so for people who use more energy, like cryptocurrency mining farms, actually have to pay a higher fee. Very interesting story. Good times if you're in Venezuela or Trinidad, that's for sure. Over in Russia, a businessman buys 2 electric power stations to do Bitcoin mining in Russia. Just keep that, in mind here for a second. Who buys 2 power stations? That guy is loaded already. That is nuts. Absolutely nuts. Not a bad decision, though. He'll be able to mine a heck of a lot of cryptocurrency, assuming he can get his hands on the relevant hardware. which is, of course, always the challenge. Okay. Time to give away some Bitcoin. Randomly pick a winner for the weekly $50 worth of Bitcoin giveaway. Justin D, my Trezor is starving. Well, I've got some Bitcoin coming your way, dudes. So $50 worth of Bitcoin on the way for you. If you want to be in to win next week, make sure you put your Bitcoin address down below. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time, guys.